What's up, everybody? It's John from the Fitness Oracle. I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to take a look at the this new format of the daily shows. You may have noticed that we're utilizing video content a little bit more, which is more on the lines of where we wanted to be with everything. What I did want to ask you guys before we get started with today's show was to be able to support us in our mission to help with men's mental health as it applies to exercise and martial arts and wellness in the entire stratosphere of health and wellness. So if you know anybody who is suffering from mental health issues, that are suffering from loneliness, depression, anxiety, stuff like that, just share this with them. Please, please, please help us even more by subscribing to our channel and share and hit the little bell to be notified every time that we release a new episode, which should be on a daily basis. But it's always good to be notified when we come out with new content, right? So remember, just to reiterate, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to our channel, show us that you care. Hit the little bell to be notified when we're releasing a new episode. And again, if you know anybody who's suffering from any form of mental health issues when it comes to depression, anxiety, and stuff like that, please share it with them, as the entire mission of this show is to help others. Hope you enjoyed today's episode and stay healthy, my friends. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Fitness Oracle Minicast series. I am your host, John Katsavos, and today is Throwback Thursday, and we are going to be talking about how I got introduced to the importance of the spine. Now, there's a couple of stories that I want to touch base, but one of them we actually looked up on, which was the very first time that I actually got introduced to it with the RTS, Resistance Training Specialist Program. But the importance of it, how it really connected for me, was when I actually started working with a gentleman who was confined to a wheelchair. And he had, I'm not going to name any names, but he had spina bifida, which, if you guys don't know what spina bifida is, it's a deteriorative disease that you are born with, that you get at birth, where your spine actually deteriorates over time. And he was confined to a wheelchair, and he only had 5% of functionality in his from his hips down to his toes. So this really pushed my limits as a personal trainer. I didn't know what to do. To be honest with you, I was confused. And I reached out to two friends of mine. Both of them I can consider my mentors. One has passed away. I mentioned him before, Peter Chasen, and the other one is the owner of this great little company, Strata up in Newmarket. His name is Brandon Green. And they both told me, they're like, well, why don't you work with him? And I'm like, well, I don't know what to do with him. I mean, I can't get him to do any legs. I can't get him to do anything with his legs. They're like, well, he has 5% of functionality in his legs, right? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, just do the 5%. Get him to do 100% of the 5%. I'm like, all right, but he can't do squats. He can't do leg press. He can't do hack squats. He can't do seated curls. He can't do prone hamstring curls. He can't do leg extensions. They're like, but he has 5% of his legs. I'm like, okay, so, and they just told me, they go, think about it. Think about how you can actually manipulate those movements with what he has. So that really pushed me. That really pushed me. And uh, like a couple of weeks went by, and he asked me, and I wasn't really doing too much legs with him because I'm like, I still don't know. I'm still not trying to. I'm still trying to figure out and process how I can utilize his legs. And it was about 2 weeks. 2 weeks that went by, and he looks at me, he goes, "We're not going to do anything for lower body. I know I'm stuck to a wheelchair, but I was thinking maybe we can do something. I do have 5%." I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I go, yeah, we're going to do some stuff for your legs. I go, let's go to because we had like squash courts and they had the seats. So we went to the squash courts where the seats are. A couple of the squash players were kind enough to clear off a bench so we could use it. And I sat him down. We started doing some stuff that kind of, I wouldn't say mimicked squats. However, the stressors that I put on his legs mimicked the movements of squats, but it wasn't a squat. And now that brings up other questions. What is a squat? And we'll go into this most likely next year. What is a squat? We'll define squat next year. But it started getting me thinking, okay, well, if I can get him to do, mimic the forces of a squat, what about a hamstring curl? What about a leg raise? What about um, calf raises? What about MAT toe boxes? That I call them MAT toe boxes. They're like you crunch your toes up and you just draw boxes. What about this? What about that? What about this? And all of a sudden, I had a workout program for his legs. And we were working 100% of his 5%. Now, how does this wrap your head around, the importance of the spine and the functionality of the spine? Well, if you have a little bit of something, why not utilize that 100% of that little bit? And that's what I did with him. So we started training for like whole body training system that I tailored for him. A couple weeks go by and I had one guy come up to me on a time where my client wasn't there, and he looks at me and goes, "Dude, I want to shake your hand." What? You want to do what? He goes, "I have never seen a trainer work another person in that situation ever in my life." He goes, "You are well underpaid and you don't deserve to be here." I was working for a big box gym, LA Fitness. And I'm like, "Look, dude," I go, and this is the truth. Like, this is the truth. It wasn't the client that had to change. I was the one who had to change. I had to change the way of my thinking. I had to think outside the box to help this client. And with doing that, I actually came up with a whole new tool set of being able to train people with spinal issues. I'm not saying this is a one size fits all program for people with spinal issues, because there are people that are bedridden. It's not going to work for them. It is unique. However, the tool set of being able to think, you know what, um, a squat is having a bar on your back and sitting down and standing back up again, is not true. It's just not true. What if you don't have that? Can you mimic those stressors and help that person become stronger in the position that they're in? Now, what does this have to do with the spine, right? I mean, how does this all roll into all I'm talking about this whole week? Well, it's simple. The spine is just a structure in the human body. It's the most important, like I've been saying the whole week, it's the most important physical structure that we have. However, because of the functionality and the functionality, capability, range of motion, control factors, um, that forces that go through it, it's not limited to our limited mindset of what we know. If we can pull ourselves out of that and being able to apply different tools that will mimic stuff, the same stuff, but just in a different way, then it's just a piece of 33 different bones tied together with 120 muscles and 220 ligaments. That's all it is. And you're telling me that you don't know how to train something with 120 muscles? Come on. If you're a trainer and you're listening to this, come on. Come on. If you know how to train one muscle, you know how to train them all. You just got to be able to think outside the box, apply your knowledge in a different way, and be able to and be able to present it to the client without hurting them and make them stronger in the position that they're in. Anyways, that's that for TGIF, for Throwback Thursdays. Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite stories. Not because I got credit for it from somebody else, but because I was able to push myself into a different realm. And he almost set me up with the Canadian Spinal Association here in Toronto, almost, but that's a different story, one that I'm not ready to get into right now. Anyways, you guys have been great. I'm grateful for you guys for listening this long. Tomorrow, I am going to be going off on the industry, on proprioception, on the spine, on limiting factors, on personal limiting factors. It's going to be a fun one, so you guys might want to tune into that. Until then, you guys be great.